Today we're going to be building the XB-70 Valkyrie. The Valkyrie was an experimental supersonic bomber developed by the US during the Cold War. It was designed to outrun missiles and interceptors and deliver nuclear payloads flying at up to 70,000 feet in Mach 3. The project was ultimately cancelled due to being made obsolete by advancing missile technology. Regardless, the XB-70 still remains one of the biggest, fastest, and definitely coolest planes to ever exist. We're going to start off our build by finding the right cockpit for the Valkyrie. Now this is the droop nose cockpit from the Airplanes Plus mod. I'll link every mod that I use in the description. And this isn't exactly what the Valkyrie had, though it did have something like a droop snoot. It actually just had a ramp, more or less, that moved up and down in front of the windshield. So you can see that here in a couple of pictures I'll put up. It didn't really droop like this one does. This is one more like a Concorde type of cockpit here, where the entire nose actually comes down. Now I'm using the procedural parts fuel tank for the back tail section there, just so I can get a really long tail segment. You just really can't do it with most modded or stock parts, get like a tail segment that long. So we're also using procedural wings to get those gigantic wings, and I'm trying as closely as possible to follow the dimensions of the actual plane. I had them pulled up in a side screen, and I had the little what's it called, the little engineer's report down there telling me exactly how big the Valkyrie was going to be. So it was kind of hard to guess without the wingtips on, so I ended up making the wings a little bit too big. You can see here I'm doing the hinges for the wingtips, actually. The wingtips on the Valkyrie move up and down. This is to take advantage of basically a shockwave that the front intakes made. It would use that shockwave to generate more lift under the wings and keep the shockwave under there using the wingtips angled down when it was going supersonic, and then it could angle the wingtips straight out whenever it was going subsonic. So right now we're working on the back little section here. It's a indent in the back of the wing for the engines, I'm guessing, so it doesn't melt the back wing off. And we're also working on those vertical stabilizers. Here's the really interesting elevons that the Valkyrie uses. It's these split elevons on the back, and there's actually 6 of them, I'm pretty sure. There's 2 on the wingtips, but we couldn't really do the 2 on the wingtips because the wingtips, you'll see here, I was originally going to do them with a hinge, and if you've messed around with hinges on wings in Kerbal Space Program, it's pretty much impossible. They're so inconvenient. You can get it working, but it's very inconvenient. So I just used a regular procedural control surface from Procedural Wings, and I just kind of shaped it into the size of the wingtip, and it moves in the exact way that the wingtips would. This is not going to have any robotics or anything, and should work pretty well. There's that front apex in front of the intakes I was talking about. That's what actually makes the shockwave that the wingtips take advantage of. Here's those massive air intakes. This was very difficult to get the shape right, because it's delta, but then there's like another kind of shape going on after the intakes. You can kind of see there, I had to use 2 different sections, actually 3, to fill in the gaps and everything. It's pretty difficult shape to get under there. In fact, that whole undercarriage took forever. As you can see, there's a massive amount of room inside of there, though. This whole thing weighs like 200 tons once it's done. It is a big bird. Everything that looks like a stock part is sized up in this quite a lot, by like double or triple. So we're using those sized up adapters. And right here, like I was talking about earlier, it's hard to get the exact size. So now that I have the wingtips on there, I've seen that I was way over what the actual wingspan was. So we get it down to like don't quote me because I can't quite read the engineer's report, but like 35 meters, something like that. But yeah, we're just repositioning everything. I regret that the wingtips couldn't have their elevons on there, because they kind of control yaw, I guess, whenever they're down at supersonic flight. So that'd be pretty cool, but alas, we can't do it. So here's the front canards. Now, I did this half wings, half procedural control surface to get the exact effect that the canards had, because they were half lifting surface, half control surface. And those are going to be able to be trimmed during flight, so we can get the perfect angle for climbing or just maintaining altitude. Now, I added the the parachutes there. It needs those for landing. I don't necessarily think you need it for landing in Kerbal Space Program. The brakes are very overpowered in this game, so yeah, not really needed, but really, really cool. Here's the payload bays. Now, I think it technically would have only had one opening for the payload bay, and like really surprisingly not that much in there, but it's really kind of all up in the air. Here we're going to test it out, and everything worked really well. This is the first test flight that I ever tried after building it and everything. Don't mind the roller coaster in the background there. I was having some trouble with some of my like Kerbal cities and bases mods, but yeah, it took right off. Tons and tons of lift. Despite it being so heavy, it flies amazingly. You wouldn't think that the with the elevons in the back there and just those little canards in the front that would be so maneuverable, but it really is, and it goes really fast. We managed to get up to like 1,500 meters, or not 1,500, 15,000 meters, and like close to Mach 3. It was like Mach 2, something like that, but the Panther engines just couldn't handle it, so I swapped them out for some engines from the BDA mod. There you can see the snoot drooping, which is not how the Valkyrie did, but as close as I could get. Now these engines, after testing them out in this run here, they'll look pretty cool, and I think ground effect was helping me out. I can't remember if I had it installed for this or not, but it basically gives you more lift close to the ground. This thing kind of just like floated, but as you can see, these engines didn't actually do as well. You look up to 700 meters per second and 11,000 meters of height. So we swapped them back out for the Panther engines again after doing a lot of different testing. Turns out the Panthers were just the best choice, and we just sized them up a bit more, quite a bit more. So we sized them up, adjusted everything in there, and right here I'm adjusting the control surfaces to show that they're all separate control surfaces. I really wanted to show that off in the video because right now they just move in unison. So I adjusted their authority and made them look a little bit better. Here I'm actually making the inside look like what the inside would have looked like inside of a Valkyrie. Basically those are going to be the air intakes that go all the way back to the engines, and in the middle would be your payload bay, which is basically how it works from all the diagrams that I could find online. That's basically how the Valkyrie would have been set up. So here's those control surfaces that I was talking about. So now you can kind of see them like feathering a bit. Looks really cool, I think. I mean, it obviously wouldn't have always been doing that, but hey, cool effect. There's those wingtips moving that you can go up. I don't know why you'd want that, but they go up. But here we're going to do a test with the new sized up Panthers, and this thing does pretty darn good. Like, really good. I think you could pack any bomb in North Kerbin Dynamics or BDA with this. Some nice sexy shots of it flying. But yeah, I think you can carry pretty much any bomb with this. Though the payload bays make it a bit difficult. You kind of have to yank up on it, like you have to pull up as you drop the bomb, or else you'll see here in a minute. I'm pretty sure the clip's coming up where I tried to drop a bomb and didn't work out so well. Oh yeah, I gave the BDA AI control of it and sent one of my interceptors of my own creation after it, and it did this. The interceptor fired a cluster missile and absolutely annihilated it. It just went straight up for some reason. That was its response to getting chased by an interceptor. Went straight up in the sky. The interceptor did not give up though, nor did the Valkyrie. Despite being like 80% gone, it was still flying around just fine. Like, no wings. I guess it's a testament to how big those control surfaces are. So here we changed things around a little bit, and I've tested so many weapons. I tried to be realistic, so we're going to go unrealistic. We're going to put 3 Genie missiles, a little boy, a full nuclear bomb, and then we're going to put a GOAD on there. God of All Destruction, massive airburst bomb from SMI missiles, I think it is. But yeah, here we are taking off with 2 F-104s. This was supposed to be a formation flight, but I guess formation flights with the Valkyrie are a bit cursed because right after this clip, both F-104s crashed into the ground for whatever reason. I really need to redo my F-104s with mods now. But here we set up a random base, and I decide I'm going to bomb it with the little boy. And the second I drop it, that happens. So yeah, you can prevent this by pulling up on the controls really hard as you bomb. But yeah, I also had trouble with the one nuclear bombs, B-83 nuclear bombs. I think they just died midair and never landed. I don't understand that. So yeah, a lot of weapons troubles with this. But hey, it flies like a charm. Yeah, I know I turned the wingtips down way too early there. They turned down more at like Mach 1.5 or something, I think, like that. And then they progressively get lower and lower as it gets higher up into the supersonic regimes. But this time we're going to really get those weapons actually out of the bays and not actually destroy our plane with them. So we're just going to fly to the same base again. And here's the Genie air-to-air missiles. Of course, nuclear air-to-air missiles. And we're going to fire them at the ground. But I accidentally fired all 3 Genies at once. And I think they hit each other because this is what happened next. Yeah, that was a suboptimal place to have a nuclear bomb go off. But we still have the little boy and the GOAD left. And we're going to drop that. So, kind of got it in the sights, and then we drop it any moment now, I think. Come on. There we go. And it immediately, like, activates air brakes or something and locks in on where we dropped it. And I was hoping to get some great shots of this stuff exploding, but, we're fairly high altitude, like 3,000 meters or something like that. Way lower than, what it should be flying, but I couldn't really get the weapons to even, like, give me a targeting reticle or anything outside of this. There's the GOAD going off, and we had a bit of trouble at the clouds, though they are so beautiful, the true volumetric clouds. They kind of get in the way sometimes. But yeah, we're just going to dive bomb. I just gave up, and you can just see how maneuverable this thing actually is. We're going to dive bomb the little boy nuclear bomb onto this space because I give up. I can't tell you how many times I was trying to shoot weapons with this thing. So after dive bombing with a 200-ton plane, it actually worked. It's a dive bomber. Who would have knew? So yeah, you can just see this thing is it's amazing to fly. This is probably one of my favorite planes to fly. It's up there with like the Archangel SSTO from my stock career stuff in KSP. We're going to take it in for a landing. I like landing this too. Pretty fun to land. It's got the parachutes and everything. We're going to line it up with the runway and get a good glide slope down there. You can see me kind of over on the left there activating the Kerbal Constructs landing guide thing. And this space itself, by the way, it's like Mojave Sands or something like that. It comes with the Kerbin side mod, and that's a mod that works with Kerbal Constructs and adds a bunch of bases around, extra bases around Kerbin. So here we are gliding into the runway. That little blue line you'll see flickering, that's one of the indicators that you're lined up for the runway. No idea why that building on the left is destroyed. Absolutely no idea. So here we come up, and I start drifting a little bit off the center line, and so I just yank it really hard and almost land in like a full crab there. But yeah, I get it back to the center line pretty easily, and on my first few attempts I landed on the front gear, and so that's completely okay. I wanted to land it on the back gear because it's more realistic to how it actually would have landed. And then we activate those parachutes, and boy, they slow it right down. Like, you could land on a fairly short runway with this in KSP. But yeah, look at that. How cool is that? I'll put up a video here in a second, and I'll show you an actual Valkyrie landing. And I think it got pretty close. I think it got pretty close to it.
The XB-70A has achieved these goals without any aerodynamic changes required. This in itself is significant, and becomes even more so when the revolutionary firsts, such as the multi-shock air inlet duct, the canard delta wings, and the folding wing tips are considered.
But yeah, there's a Jeb, so you can see a little bit of a scale to how big this thing is, and it is massive. I love old footage like that of these unique planes. It's really great. The announcers always have that certain voice to them. I love it. It's great. And Jeb's having a little bit of trouble back there on the Valkyrie. But hey, if you like this video, I've got a bunch more recreation videos and more coming out soon. Next video, here that we're going to be making an A-10 in KSP2. KSP2. So check that out.